Uh,
You know, this movie failed. They aren't continuing on with it, so there's no reason to hold a grudge
yes,
or
yes,
even the grudge.
yes. Yeah, so this was my solo movie for the week, as my descent into the J-Horror rabbit hole continues. Um, yeah, so I watched Ju-On The Grudge. Now, like The Ring from last week, I have not seen the American version of this movie, so I can't comment on it. Um, but this movie, from the poster, it says from the creators of Ringu. Definitely, I can definitely see the similarities between the two, because both movies deal with people who uh, were murder victims, and they become vengeful spirits and prey on the living. In the case of The Grudge, it's a mother and a son who were brutally murdered by the husband and dad, and they are now haunting this little house in Tokyo. And anybody who goes into the house ends up getting killed by one of them. Uh, and the movie is very episodic, almost
Hmm.
anthological, because they focus on like specific characters throughout the movie that go into the house and then find themselves victims of. I'm trying to remember Toshio is the name of the kid, and I can't remember the name of the mom. Uh, but yeah, it's really just like it's basically all it is. Really, is it's just about these you know the people who fall victim to it, and the curse keeps getting passed on to other people.
Hmm.
Um, and it starts off with this young social worker named Rika, and she's sent to the house because she's got to look out on this old lady who is living there with her son and daughter-in-law. And she clearly, the old lady has like, probably has dementia of some kind. And when Rika's in the house, that's when she sees the little boy. And then, she sees this like spirit that's hanging over the old lady. And yeah, it's just kind of, and then, she recovers from it. And then, she's talking to the police, and the police, the police officer says, well, the couple doesn't have they don't have any kids. So they're like, well, who's this kid? And then they basically unravel the mystery of what happened in the house. Uh, and just basically, and it's, like I said, it's just, it follows all these different characters from like Rika to the couple and the old lady that were living in the house to the cop who was investigating the murders, and the cop's daughter when she gets to be a teenager. It's also told non-linearly,
Hmm.
a bit like a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, you had mentioned that, I believe you mentioned last week that the Ring was also almost a police procedural more than a horror movie.
yeah, this one kind of felt that way too. Um, and yeah, like a police procedural mixed with a like a haunted house. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and the ending is kind of interesting because it's like it implies that the curse with this mom and this boy spread out to everywhere, because they show like the streets of Tokyo, and the neighborhood's just completely empty.
Hmm.
um yeah, it's kind of a very dark ending to the movie. And what I didn't know was that this is technically the third movie. Um,
Really?
yeah, there were two other movies, Ju-On The Curse 1 and 2, and I don't know anything about those. But yeah, this movie is it's right up there with your standard J horror, creepy, like kind of like, when you're alone in your house at night and you draw the curtains, you're going to see some, kid, ghostly looking kid staring at you, like. Yeah,
as opposed to a long-haired girl coming out of the TV.
right. Yeah.
You just change what kind of dead-looking person is creeping on you.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, in most movies like this, they're very shy about showing like too much of the killer or too much of the entity or whatever. This movie isn't shy about it. They show those two all the time and scare the what out of you. So,
so it sounds like a recommend.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like The Ring, this one's also on Shudder. So yeah, it's a classic J-horror movie for a reason, and like The Ring, it's been parodied quite a bit in anime and manga. So yeah.
so it's kind of like when we watched Jaws, where it opens your third eye to like, oh, that's what that was a reference to.
Yes. Yeah.